with pani. Good evening, students. I hope you have gone through yesterday's class where we have discussed all the theoretical knowledge that is required to solve any percentage problem given in UPSC CSAT. Okay. So today we are going to take up problems, PYQ problems. Okay, especially from for the past 15 years. Okay, probably from 12 to 24, 12 years, 12 to 13 years. Okay. So let's start from the recent one. Okay, so this will be active in okay, you can even comment in the chat section. Let us go by one. So let us go by each question by question. Okay, take 1 minute for each question. Okay, 1 minute for each question and comment. Okay, comment what is the option you think in the comment section. Okay, and even if you have any doubts, okay, feel free to ask in this. And the way we deal with this is, okay, apart from this, okay, like we always do, okay, we'll see a normal way of doing this. Okay, and second, okay, if an efficient way is possible, okay, by using the observations that we have taught in class, or we'll derive the observations. Sometimes we'll derive the observations from the problem itself. Okay, so that you also know the standard way to solve a problem and a better way to solve the problem. Okay, so let's get back to, okay, let's start with problem number 1. This is PYQ 2024. Okay, this is 56.25, 0.25, 60.5, 48.75. Okay, take a minute. P salary is 20% lower than Q. Okay, P salary is 20% lower than Q, and Q salary, okay, and Q salary is 20% lower than R salary. By how much percent is R salary more than P salary? By how much is R salary more than P salary? Okay, so start. कमेंट सेक्शन में दिख रहा है, कमेंट सेक्शन का स्क्रीन लाइव पे. Okay, last 15 seconds. Okay, so let's solve this problem. Okay, so most of you would have done it this way. since he is giving, okay, 20%, so P is lesser than Q and Q is lesser than R, okay. Since he is giving 20%, you might have started with by assuming that, okay, 1 is 100%, okay, 1 is 100%, okay. So P salary is 20% lower than Q salary, which is 20% lower than R salary. So P is given with reference to Q and Q is given with reference to R, okay, and Q is given with reference to R. So, okay, always it is advisable to choose, okay, the lowest one as the reference, the lowest one as the reference, okay. So assuming R to be 100, okay, then Q salary is 20% lower than R. Q salary is 20% lower than R. So for 100, 20% means 80, okay. For 100, 20% lower means 80. And next, P salary is 20% lower than Q. P salary is 20% lower than Q, okay. Instead of doing all this, okay, some people might go for calculation, okay. Do not do that. Simply by observing the values, you can find out what is P. What is 10%? What is 20? Okay, 20% reduction is given. What is 10%? 8. So 20% is 2 times 10%. That means 2 times 8, 16. So 20% less. So 80 minus 16 is 64. 80 minus 16 is 64. Now what was the answer? By how much percent is R's value more than P's salary? R's salary more than P's salary. So how much is R's salary more than P's salary? It is 36. Okay, it is 36. So 30. Okay, 36. And who is the reference? Is it P or is it R? By how much is, okay, by how much percent is R salary more than P salary? I have always told you, yesterday we have discussed this, okay. Always the variable that comes second, the variable that comes second or the variable that comes after conjunctions or prepositions, okay, will always be the reference. So this is 36, okay, 36 out of 64, okay, 36 out of 64 into 100%, okay. You need not even go for calculation, okay. You see the values there. UPSC will definitely, okay, try to help you. If you do the concept well, UPSC will want you to write the answer there, okay. In that case, UPSC is your supporting friend, okay. You see 64, what is half of 64? 32, okay, and this is just a 4, okay, the difference is 4. So the value of this percentage will be somewhat greater than 50. You see what is there in the range of 50 there? It is only one value, which is B. So it is 56.25%, or for those people who want to calculate, okay, this is 36, 18, 32, 9 and 16, okay, 9 and 16. So this is 9 by 16, okay, 9 by 16. If you remember your okay, if you remember yesterday's class well, the first point we discussed was fraction to ratio, okay, fraction to percentage conversion. So what is 9 by 16? Can I write this as 8 by 16 plus 1 by 16? 8 by 16 is 50%, 1 by 16 is 6.25%. So it is 56.25%, okay, 56.25%, which is the same as this. Is this clear? Now let us see the efficient way of solving this. Okay, even when you do a normal way, okay, always observe. Do not just go for calculation, a blind-sided calculation, okay. Always think whether can I do this process much more efficiently, and then follow, okay. So now we'll see a shortcut or much more efficient way. Yesterday, if you remember, I started with a definition of successive percentage. What is a successive percentage? It is when you apply percentage to a changed base. You apply percentage to a changed base. So you see what is happening here? P, okay. So R, okay, Q is 20% less than R. Q is 20% less than R. Next, P is 20% less than Q. You see, the change, the base, okay, for this 20% the base is R. It has changed to Q, and for this 20% the base is Q, okay. So there is a change in bases. So this is the same as how you do successive percentage. What is the other way that I can call this? R has undergone a successive percentage of 20% twice, okay. Successive percentage of 20% to get to P, okay, to get to P. So now can I use all the forms of successive percentage? I can use 100, I can use formula equation, or I can use the ratio way. 100 is similar to this, formula is, okay. So we'll discuss both of these. Formula is A plus B plus AB by 100, okay. A plus B, since the percentage is equal, okay, 20% plus AB is 400 by 100, which is, okay, which is 44%, okay. So your R is less than P by 44%. Your R is less than P by 44%. So we need R in terms of P, or you can directly take values. 100, if this is 100, this becomes 64. So how much is the reduction? 36. So 36 out of 64, okay, you will get the same value. Okay. So we can make a little observation from here. So that whenever you encounter such specimen or such kind, we already know the basic way. Whenever you encounter this thing, okay, the equivalent percentage when X percentage is applied, when X percentage of increase is applied is, okay, X plus X square by 100. Can I also write this as, okay, 2x? Can I also write this as 2x? By 100 is decimals, 1, okay, and then 2, and then so 2x dot x square, So here the value is, the x is 20, so 2 into x 40 plus x square is 400 by 100, which is 4, so it is 44%. So for those who want to even shave off those 1 or 2 seconds, instead of using this, you can directly remember this, okay. If the same percentage is applied twice, successive percentage, it is X percentage applied twice, it is 2x dot x square. The equivalent percentage is 2x dot x square. So once this is done, let us see ratio. Let us solve the same thing by ratio way. Okay, R, Q and P, 20%, 20%. Okay, so this is how you do ratio. Initial value, final value. 20% is 1 by 5. 20% is 1 by 5. So if R's value is 5, Q's value will be 4. If R's value is 5, Q's value will be 4. Next, if Q's value is 5, R's value will be 4. 4. So what will this be? 25 is to 16. 25 is to 16. Okay. And he is asking how much is R greater than P. What is the difference here? The difference is 9 on a base of 16. On a base of 16 into 100%. So half of 16 is 8. So this is nothing but 8 by 16 plus 1 by 16. 8 by 16 is 50. 1 by 16 is 6.25%. So it is 56.25%. 56.25%. So this being the first problem, we have seen all the ways, but from now on, okay, we will see the normal way, and if there is an efficient way to solve it, we will see that too. Okay. Now, so the answer is 56.5%. Is this clear? Let's go for the next one. Second, a number is mistakenly divided by 4. A number is mistakenly divided by 4 instead of 2nd one, take a minute. A number is mistakenly divided by 4 instead of being multiplied by 4. What is the percentage change in the result due to this mistake? What is the percentage change in the result due to this mistake? One minute. Okay. Half a minute more. You can comment the answer in the comment section too. Solve it and comment your answer. Okay. So there is not much wriggling room here to find an efficient way. So what can we do? Okay. So there is a number x. There is a number x. It was supposed to be multiplied by 4. It was supposed to be multiplied by 4, but it got divided by 4. It got divided by 4. He is asking how much is the percentage change? How much is the percentage change? Okay. How much is the percentage change? Okay. So generally, people you can even start by taking it as x. Okay. If you take x, the actual value was supposed to be 4x, but the mistaken value will become x. So the change is 4x minus x by 4 by 4x into 100%. 4x into 100%. If you calculate this, it will be 15x by 16x into 100. Okay. You see, you not even calculate 15 by 16. How much is this near? How much is this near? Okay. 10% of 16. 10% of 16 is simply 1.6. So if you reduce by 1.6 only, you will get into 80s. You will get into 80s. But how much is 15 less than 16? It is just 1. So the answer should be in 90s. Okay. The answer should be in 90s. So you see the options. UPSC is lenient in this term. Okay. Even if they give a difficult question, the answers, the options will always be, if you follow the right path, the right answer will always be apparent to you. Okay. So the answer is 93.75%. 93.75%. So efficient way is, instead of taking x, okay, someone may start with 100. Okay. The problem with that is you need to subtract 400 minus 25 by 400. This is 375 by 400. Okay. So this is a bigger number. Okay. If you put a little thought behind, whatever we take x, if this is, because whatever you multiply, multiplication we don't have a problem anytime. Okay. Always the problem is with division. The problem will always come with division. So if we choose a number which is divisible by 4, what is the smallest number that is divisible by 4? It is 4 itself. So it becomes, your 4x has to be 16, but by dividing it by 4, it has become 1. So the difference is 16 minus 1 by 16, which is 15 by 16, which is 92, okay, or 93.75%. This should be, if you are able to imagine the flow of the question itself, or the way you solve the answer, this is nothing more than oral question. Okay. You should just see this, and if you imagine 4, you will directly get here. Okay. Instead of taking x or taking 100, if you imagine 4, you will definitely get here. So it is easily, this question is easily solvable within a minute. Okay. Next, third one. One minute. Good. Third one. In an examination, 80% of the students in English.
देखना आवाज आ रही है? हेलो।
Sorry for the interruption. For all such questions where you see what is it was given, okay, but into the variable which is asked as the answer, okay. So in English, how many students passed? 80% of the students passed. 80% of the students passed. So how many failed? 20%. If 80% students passed, 20% are failed. In Hindi, how many have passed? 70% of the students have passed. 70% of the students have passed. So how many have failed? That means 30%. And when it is students who failed in both, are students who failed in both 15%. Okay. Now draw a Venn diagram. This is people who failed in English, okay, E naught. People who failed in English, this is 20%, okay. And this is people who failed in Hindi, H naught. This is 30%. This is 30%. And those who failed in both, this common part is 15%. This common part is 15%. Now, what was the question? He is asking how many students have passed in only one subject. How many students have passed in? Sorry, how many students have failed in? Only one subject. How many students have failed in only one subject? So this 20% includes this 15%. So if this part is 15%, the whole is 20%, and this part itself is 15%. So how much is this part? Which is people who failed in just English itself. It is 5%. People who failed in just English is 5%. In the same way, people who failed in just Hindi. So this whole part is 30% and this part is 15%. That means this part is 15%. So people who failed in only one subject are people who failed in English plus people who failed in only Hindi. People who failed in only English are how much? 5%, and people who failed in only Hindi are 15%, which gives you 20%. So the answer is B, which is 20%. Easier, right? So what was the observation that we have discussed? It is whenever you see, especially in such Venn diagram type problems, you will always solve the problem much more efficiently if you change to those quantities that are given in, that are asked in the answer. The answer will be much more faster if you observation, okay, if you convert to those parameters that are asked in the answer, okay. I hope this is clear. Now let's go for the next one. This is CSAT 2022. Fourth one. The increase in a certain item the increase in a certain item was 25%. Take a minute. The increase in the price of an item was 25%. Then the price was decreased by 20% and then increased by 10% again. What is the resultant increase in the price? What is the resultant increase in the price? So, a normal way and our way. Normal way is most people will deal it with by the assumption method. Okay, there are not many ways, many standard ways to solve problem rather than going by assumption. So, if we take the initial value as 100, what was the first change? The price was increased by 25%. So, the price has become 125. 125 is the new price, and then the price was decreased by 20%. The price was decreased by 20%. Same, instead of calculating 20 and all, just look at this. What is 10%? 10% of 125 is, just shift the decimal to one spot. So, it is 12.5. So, 20% is 25. Okay, 20% is 2 into 12.5, which is 25. So, 125 minus 25 is 100, and after this it is decreased by 10%. So, it becomes 90. So, what is the overall change? From 100 it has become 90. So, the overall change is 10%. The overall change is 10%. Okay, is this clear? Now, instead of taking 100, calculating 125 and then 100, you observed n by d rule, right? We have discussed n by d rule. What is n by d rule? Okay, if one side, what n by d rule are? Two factor circular. Okay, if A is greater than B by plus or minus n by d, B is lesser than A by minus or plus n by n plus or minus d, n plus or minus d. You see, I am going to just give you few percentages so that this will strike you whenever you see such percentages. Suppose if there is an increase of 20%, 20% is 1 by 5, 20% is 1 by 5. So, the corresponding decrease should be how much? Plus becomes minus, 1 will be 1, okay, 1 will be 1, and this will go to 1 plus 5 is 6, 1 by 6 is 16.66%. Next, if the increase is of 25%, 1 by 4, what will be its corresponding value? Plus becomes minus 1. For those who want explanation of n by d rule, I hope I clearly suggest you to refer to the first lecture, where we have clearly discussed under the theoretical frameworks to solve percentages, all these frameworks. Okay, so it becomes 1 will come as it is, and 1 plus 5. So, you see, this is 25%, this is 20%. So, my suggestion to you is, whenever you see the fractional equivalence of percentage, whenever you see the fractional equivalence of percentage whose denominator is varying by 1, whose denominator is varying by 1, even see in this case it is varying by 1. Okay, this should remind you that if you can apply n by d rule, if you can apply n by d rule, whenever you see, okay, this should strike you, okay, a little observation. Whenever you see the equivalent ratio of percentages where the denominators are varying by 1 or by the numerator, here numerator is 1, the denominators are varying by 1, here the numerator is 1, the denominators are varying by 1. Okay, if you see such types of percentages, it should always remind you of n by d rule, okay. So now how will we use this? Once you know this, you know 25% is 1 by 4 and this is increase, 20% is decrease and 1 by 5, you see, complementary and it is varying by 1 and it is varying by 1. Apply n by d rule, you will see that this resultant is always 0. Why? The negative equivalent of this is of plus 1 by 4 is minus 1 by 5. Okay, so this equivalent is 0. So first two changes contribute nothing. So what is the resultant change? It is whatever it is contributed by the third one, which is 10%, If you just understand this observation, this becomes an oral problem. You need not even put your pen on your paper. Okay, so solving through the normal way, it is 10%, or if you go through our way too, it is 10%. The only advantage is you need not even put your pen on your paper. For that, you need to be reminded that whenever you see such percentages whose equivalent ratio is, the denominators in the ratio vary by the amount in the numerators, okay. It always should remind you of n by d rule. So this is 10%. So have we done this? So this is 10%. Okay. So this is 10%. Now, next one, election kind of problems. Two candidates X and Y contested an election. 80% of the voters cast their vote and there were no invalid votes. There was no nota option 2. X got 56% of the votes cast and won by 1440 votes. What is the total number of votes in the voters list? What is the total number of voters in the voters list? What is the total number of voters in the voters list? Take a minute. Answers anyone? I hope everyone has solved this. Let's see. So the question says that two candidates X and Y contested an election. Two candidates X and Y contested an election. Two candidates X and Y contested an election. 80% of the voters cast their vote. There were no invalid votes. Okay. There was no nota. Well and good. X got 56% of the votes cast and won by 1440 votes and won by 1440 votes. I want to give you an observation here which will be much more useful to you. Whenever you see such values where your percentages are given, a stream of percentages are given and a final value is a number, okay, and a final value is number, okay, then I always suggest you to start from the percentages and reach the final value, or express everything or frame an equation in terms of percentages, such that you will reach the value that is given, So, I hope you remember this, it will be very useful, okay, in solving election kind of problems. So now let us see the normal method to do this. So the normal way is through assumption. Assume 100x are that number of people on the voters list. So 100x, out of this 80% of the voters cast their vote. So it will be 80x. So out of these votes were only for two candidates, candidate A and candidate B. Okay. So candidate A got 56% of the votes cast. Candidate A got 56% of the votes cast. So this is 56% of 80x. So if one person gets 56% votes, how many votes will B get? He will get, okay, 100 minus 56, which is 44%. Okay. If 100% of the votes were voted, okay, out of this, those 100% are distributed to A and B, and because it is given that there is not an option 2. Okay. So A and B should complete the number of votes polled. So 56% and 44%. Okay. So now the difference. So the difference between these two is 1440 votes. The difference between these two is 1440 votes. So how can I write this? This is 56% of 80x. Okay. So can I write the equation? Using the observation I have given you, you should all use those percentages such that you will arrive at this value. So what is this 56% of? It is of 80x. What is this 44% of? It is also of 80x. So yesterday we have discussed in the class, whenever the references are same, you can use either addition or subtraction. So what will this be? 56 by 100 minus 44 by 100 of 80x. 44 by 100 of 80x, because this is the base, right? It is equals to 1440. It is equals to 1440. So 56% of 80x minus 44% of 80x is 1440. If we solve for x, and multiply it by 100, we will get the total number of votes. Okay, multiply by 100, we will get total number of votes. Okay, but you see there are more calculations here. I am not using any of logic. I am just blindly going, okay, how will I get the next equation? How will I get the next value? Can I write an equation there? I am not thinking logically here. So an efficient way could be, what was the value given? The value was in terms of the difference. Okay. So I should also bring the percentages to a difference. Okay. So start from the initial value x and see how many changes has it undergone. First, if there are total number of people, only 80% of them have voted. So what is the multiplication factor for 80%? It is nothing but 4 by 5. Okay, 4 by 5. Now with this we get the total number of votes polled. Next, out of these votes polled, is he given a candidate's value or the difference value? You see, if one candidate gets 56%, that means the other will have, okay, must have gotten 44%. What is being mentioned here? Use logic at every step. It will simplify your calculations much more better. You see, how much time have I taken here? The difference is 12%. So what is 12%? 12% is 4% into 3. Will you agree with this or not? What is 4%? 4% is equivalent percentage 1 by 25. So 12% of this is 12%, which is 3 by 25, is 1440. 3 by 25 is 1440. Okay. Now we just need to find out x. You see, 1440 into 25 5s are, okay, 125 by 12. Okay, 12 squares are, okay, 12 into 12 is 144. So this becomes 120. So 120 into 120 into 125, 120 into 125. Even see, you need not go on multiplying here. Just do a small logic. 125 into 4, 125 into 4. What is 125 into 4? 4. Okay, 4 hundreds, 400, 25 fours, 100. So it is 500. What is 12? 12 is 4 times 3. 12 is 4 times 3. This should happen mentally. Okay, I just for the sake of telling you, I am telling it outside, but this process is much more faster when it is internal. So 12 is 3%. Okay, 12 is 3 times 4. So 500 into 3, 1500 plus 1 0, 15,000, 15,000. Okay, 15,000. Okay, so this is the answer. You see how efficient this is and how efficient this is. Okay, all it needs from this to this is a bit of application. You need to think, am I using my logic, or just I'm just go on framing an equation and trying to solve it, framing an equation and trying to solve it. Okay, I'm not saying this is bad, but thinking of a small step will bring an efficiency of, okay, in terms of scales, the efficiency, you will solve each and every problem. Okay, if you think and solve, you will solve, at least your efficiency will increase by 50%. Okay, so before, do not go blindly. All I wanted to tell you is, do not go blindly framing an equation and solving it. I am not telling that you will not get an answer, but if you just put a little bit of your brain, okay, or a little bit of thinking to the brawn you do, you will always get to the answer much more efficiently. Hardly, if you follow this way, hardly this problem takes more than a minute. You can solve it in less than a minute, but there is no way, if you do these calculations, that, okay, assuming an average calculative ability, it will take at least 1.5 to 2 minutes. Okay, so my suggestion is, always think before you solve. Okay. So is this clear? Next one. So the answer is 15,000 here. Sorry. The answer is 15,000. Okay. Next, solve the next one. One minute. In a class of 60%, okay, in a class of 60% students, in a class 60% of the students are from India, 50% of the students are girls. If 30% of the Indian students are girls, then what percentage of foreign students are boys? What percentage of foreign students are boys? Okay, such kind of problems are called matrix or tree kind. Okay, a larger variable consists of two smaller variables, and two smaller variables, okay, commonly have two more categories. Okay, two more categories. Okay, so there will always be branching. So for such kind, just follow the categories, just follow the categories from the information given. Okay, just follow the categories from the information given. Okay, let's see. So in a class 60%, you see, whenever you see only percentages, you can assume, whenever you see only percentages, okay, compare this with the election problem. There, okay, you are supposed to equate it to a value given. You are supposed to equate it to a value given, but here you are left with the freedom. You are left with the freedom to choose any initial value. You are left with the freedom to choose any initial value. So whatever you choose, okay, whatever you choose will not make a difference, but will not make a difference in terms of an answer. But what will it make? Okay, in what terms will it make a difference? It will make a difference in terms of efficiency. If you want to be boggled in calculations, you can take any any random assumption, but okay, it is always advisable, take this observation, it is always advisable to take a value, to take an initial value which is a multiple of denominators involved, which is a multiple of denominators involved. Okay, simply see this. So there is a class, it contains foreign students, Indian students, and foreign students consist of boys and girls, and Indian students also consist of boys and girls. Okay, just first tabulate the formula in all such matrix or tree type problems. If you tabulate the problem clearly, okay, the question is half solved. Okay, so tabulate the problem clearly. 60%. Okay, so 60% are from India. 60% is okay 3 by 5. Okay, 60% is 3 by 5. And if 30% of the Indian students are girls, 30% of the Indian students are girls, 30% is 3 by 10. 30% is 3 by 10. So it is always advisable to take initial value which is a multiple of the denominators involved. Okay, especially in such kind of problems. So either you could take 50 or you could take multiples of 50. There will be no problem. Okay, since 50 and 100, take any value. If I take 100 here, although this observation might not be that relevant in this problem. Why? Because the percentages given are basic. Okay, they are not that complex. Even if you choose any value, you will definitely find 60% of it, 50%. Finding this is not difficult. But especially when they give you tricky values like 16.66% or 62.5%, 37.5%, you cannot solve the problem efficiently if you don't take this observation into consideration. Okay, so 100. Okay, so 60% are Indians. 60% are Indians. That means foreign students are 40. Foreign students are 40, and 30% of these Indian students are girls. 30% of these Indian students are girls. So 30% of 16 is 18. 30% of 16 is 18. Please do not put pen on paper for calculation of such simple things. 30% is 3 into 10%. 3 into 10%. What is 10% of 60? 6. 3 into 10% or 3 into 6 is 18. Okay, 3 into 6 is 18. And what has he given here? And 50% of the students are girls. He has already given that 50% of the students are girls. So out of 100 students, 50 are girls. Okay. So if out of 50 girls, 18 are Indian girls, the foreign girls are how many? 32. Okay. 32 are the number of foreign girls. So how many boys? Foreigners are 40. Out of this 40, 32 are girls. So how many are boys? They are 8. So what has asked? What percentage of the foreign students are boys? What percentage of the foreign students are boys? Boys are 8, foreign students are 40. So 1 by 5, it is 20%. 1 by 5, it is 20%. Okay. 1 by 5, it is 20%. Is this clear? No. Let's get back to the question again. I hope you are enjoying solving these in a much more efficient way. Use the observations. I have never stopped at just providing the answer. In the examination, you should also think too. So the observations that I am giving in the class are your guardrails to solve the problem much more efficiently. Just think of those observations whenever you see those, and you will always solve the answer much more efficiently. Then we have done this. So the next one. Okay. In a group of 120 persons, same 1 minute. In a group of 120 persons, 80 are Indians, rest are foreigners. Don't you think this is also becomes a tree type problem where total people, Indians, foreigners, and even in them, okay, there are two categories: who speak English, who don't speak English. Okay, so just for all such problems, visualize the flow. That is half the question done. That is half the question done. Okay. 45 seconds more. Okay, so let us solve the problem here itself. Okay, one observation I want to give you to solve such type of problems is always never consider a problem different from the options, because most of our habit is we see a problem without going through the options, we just jump into solving the problem. Okay, that is, in most cases it may work, but in some cases options will give you a definite information or a way to approach the problem. You see, once you see the options here, you see he has, rather than giving a concrete value like 20, 30, 40, 50, he has given us range to, he has given us range to 30 or less, 30 or more. That means from this only you should get an idea that okay, there is some sort of manipulation that is involved or some sort of adjustment that is involved. Okay, so from this, okay, remember this observation. Okay, so 120 he has already given value, so this will not be a much problem. These are Indians and foreigners. Okay, so 80 are Indians, 80 are Indians, 40 are foreigners. So in Indians we have who speak English, who doesn't speak English. In foreigners also you have who speak English and who don't speak English. Okay, further 70 persons in the group can speak English. Further 70 persons in the group can speak English. Okay, so a range, what is a range? Range is the possible maximum and minimum values, the possible maximum and minimum values. Okay, you see range is involved. This gives me an indication that there is some adjustment to be done. The number of Indians who can speak English is, further 70% in the group can speak English. He has not specified whether foreigners speak only English or Indians speak English. He just said that 70% in the group speak English. Okay, so find out the, okay, since he is asking Indians, find the maximum and minimum value of Indians who speak English. Okay, so 70 people speak English, so 70 people speak English, 70 people speak English. So if I want maximum Indians to speak English, so what will I do? I will allocate this 70% to Indians itself. So Indians who speak English are 70. Okay, so all the persons in the group who speak English are Indians. That means Indians who don't speak English are 10 and all the foreigners who don't speak English are 40. So 50% don't speak English and 70% or 70% speak English and all the 70 are Indians. So the maximum Indians who can speak English are 70. Now find out the minimum case. For minimum, okay, for Indians to speak English minimum, what I have to increase? I have to allocate this 70% maximum possible to foreigners. Okay, people who speak are 40, people who speak are 70, but out of this foreigners, the maximum amount of foreigners that can be allocated is 40 only. That means at the minimum 30 Indians speak English, at the minimum 30 Indians speak English. So the number of Indians who can speak English varies between 30 and 70. If you see, it is 30 or more, it is 30 or more, remaining all values are less than that only. Okay, so it is 72. Okay, so the number of Indians who can speak English are in the range of 70 to 30, in the range of 70 to 30. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now next one, I'm just sorry. Solve this question, 1 minute, and we will see the normal way and efficient way to solve such problems. The normal way and efficient way to solve such problems. Half a minute more, 30 seconds more. So let's solve this. There is a normal way and our way. So what does the question say? P scored 40 marks more than Q in an examination. If Q scored 10% marks less than P, then how much did Q score? So the normal way is just assume some value, okay? If P scored 100x marks, okay, then Q have scored 10% less than P, okay? Q scored 10% marks less than P, okay? So Q would have scored 90x marks. So Q has scored 90x marks. And P scored 40 marks. More than Q. Okay, P scored 40 marks more than Q. So P minus Q is 40, right? 40 marks, sorry, not 40%. So 10x is equals to 40, x is equals to 4. So P scored how many marks? Okay, 400 marks, and Q scored 360 marks. Okay, so this is the normal way, although not much difficult, but if you see our way, it is much more efficient. Okay, I have always told you to convert, whenever you see values like this, convert it to percentage. You see, 10% less 10% is 1 by 10. 10% is 1 by 10. That means out of 10 marks, Q is less by 1 mark. That means if P scored 10 marks, Q scored how many? 9 marks. Okay. And what is the difference? The difference is 1 mark. Okay. Hello, am I audible? So you see, the difference is 1 mark. If P scores 10 marks, Q scores 1 mark, and the difference is 1 mark. But what is the difference now? The difference is, if the difference is 40 marks, how many marks would have P scored? Would have Q scored? It is 9 into 40, which is nothing but 360. Okay, you need not, this is just an oral question. If you are able to see this in the view of percentages and ratio, you should be dynamic enough to see percentages as ratio, because they all belong to the same family. Okay. The most efficient way to solve percentage problems are solve them as ratios, sometimes solve them as percentages. Be dynamic. Do not think in silos. Okay, be dynamic. You will always find a way that is much more efficient. Okay, so you see, this can easily done mentally. Okay, so easy problem, right? See, how many problems have we discussed? I think this is 2022 or 2021. Okay, see, have you encountered even 21, 22, 23, those were called the general perception is there are difficulty, yes, but have you faced any difficult problem in this sort? Okay, no. Okay, and this is 2021. So if you apply clearly, okay, UPSC is your friend. If you are okay, if you do it, even I have told you the options, you need not even calculate the exact percentages. The options are wide enough. If you follow the right way, the options are wide enough for you to guess the answer itself without doing the whole calculation. UPSC definitely helps in all such types of questions, but the qualifier for that is you should think in the right way. UPSC wants you to think. Okay, so this is done now. Okay, let's get back to the next one. This people who have clearly paid attention to the second problem that we solved. This becomes a 3 or 4 second problem for them. You see the percentages, I am just giving you a hint. See the percentages, 20% and 25%. What should it remind you? It should remind you of N by D rule. Okay, solve this. Take a minute, solve this. Thirty seconds more. So easy that we can just solve it here itself. Okay, so the normal way would be just assume value. Okay, the price of an article decreased by, assume it is 100, it is decreased by 20%, so it becomes 80, and the new price is increased by 25%. Okay, so 25% is okay 2 into 10% plus 5%. 2 into 10% plus 5%. What is 10%? 8. Okay, 2 into 10% is 16 plus 5% is 4, 20. So increased by 25% is nothing but addition of 20. It becomes 100. So 100 has become 100. So it is 0. Okay, this is the normal way. But do you need to do even this? If you remember the observation, whenever you see such percentages which are complementary and where the denominator varies and where the denominator varies by a factor of the numerator, you see numerator is 1 and 1, the denominators vary by 1. Okay, those are equal in percentages. N by D rule. Okay, AB plus N by D. In the reverse it becomes minus N by N plus D. So the equivalent change here is what? 0. There is no change in the condition. Okay, so whenever you see such variables, their equivalent is 0. You see 20% decrease by 20%, 1 by 5, increase by 25%, increase by 1 by 4, decrease one side, increase one side, 1 by 4, 1 by 5. Apply the rule. Okay, so increase by 1 by 4, its corresponding percentage is 1 plus 4, 5. So the equivalent of this is 0. Okay, this is a mental problem. Okay, people who have solved it with the pen and paper have not done it efficiently. Okay, so good, right? See how many problems are oral problems that we have discussed till now. At least 15 to 16 we have discussed. Out of that, at least 8 to 9 are oral problems. If you understand the concept clearly, you can directly mark the answer without putting your pen on a paper. So next, let's go for this. A person bought a car. Next question. 1 minute, and then we'll solve this. A person bought a car. Thirty seconds more. Okay, let's solve this. Normal way, our way. Okay. People seeing loss, profit percentage, they directly jump into formulas. Okay. Just like a machine, what does an AI do? It sees patterns and it applies the same pattern everywhere without thinking that is correct or not. Or in the same way, we don't see correct or wrong, we don't see is it efficient or not. So the normal way that people might have done this is, okay, the worst way is actually using loss percentages, which is, what is loss percentage? Loss percentage is your SP loss means CP will be more, so CP minus SP by CP into 100 is your, okay, loss percentage. Okay, so loss percentage is given, okay, 20%, and your SP is given here, selling price is given, which is 3 lakh. We just need to find out CP in this. Okay, So multiply CP, so 1 by 2 is 0.5 into CP equals to CP minus 3000, and this is an equation in CP. Solve for CP, you will get the value. Okay, you are not thinking here, you have written an equation and you are just taking the equation to its logical conclusion. You are not thinking there, is this the efficient way to solve? Okay, if you ask me, I'll say this, our way, I told you, always percentage to dynamic thinking will always make your thinking much more efficient. It will take you to the answer faster, easier too. Okay, so 20% loss. 20%, what is 20%? 1 by 5. That means if I take 5 rupees, if I bought something for 5 rupees, I lose 1 rupee. That means I am selling it for 4 rupees. Now this, okay, this 4 is 30. This 4 is 30. Okay, 30,000, right? So let us assume it as 30k. Okay, we will keep k as separate. So if 4 is 30, if 4 units is 30, what will be 5 units? It is nothing but 5 by 4 into 30, 5 by 4 into 30. So this will be 4 sevens are 28, 4 sevens are 28. So 2 0, 4 5s are 20, 7.5. Okay, 35. Okay, so 35, this becomes, so this 4U is 30. What is he asking? He is asking about cost price. So 5 units is 5 into 7.5 into k, because this k is left out, right? Okay, or one more way you can do, even, okay, you did not calculate even this. Okay, then how much did he spend to buy the car? Okay, so the efficient way would have been, okay, I hope you have understood that. Okay, 5 units, okay, on a loss of, he incurred a loss of 10%, sorry, 20%. 20% is 1 by 5, equivalent percentage 1 by 5. So on 5 units there is a loss of 1 unit, so it is 4. A person bought a car and sold it for 3 lakhs. If this 4 unit is, okay, 3 lakh, I need to find out what is 5. So it is nothing but 30 by 4 into 5. What is 4 by 5? What is 4 by 5? It is 125%, right? Okay, or you can even do this, 4 sevens are 28.5, 7.5 into 5. Okay, you see, 5 into 5 is 25, 5 into 5 is 25, and half. Okay, this is not that complex, you can even go for calculation. 7 5s are, okay, 35, and 5 5s are 25. Okay, so it is, okay, even from here itself you can guess that there is a lingering 5 here, so this will eliminate these two. Okay, so 1.25 times, so it is 3,75,000. Okay, 35 plus 2.5, 37.5. Okay. So he has bought the car for 3,75,000. You see how simple this is. Instead of, don't you feel this? Okay. Instead of doing CP, okay, writing this equation and solving for CP and all, don't you think this is much more intuitive and easier to answer? From here itself, you can even eliminate the option. You not make the calculation here. We know there is a 5 lingering. So, okay. So 7 5s are 35 plus this. So it will never be 60. Okay. So I hope you are enjoying solving these. Okay. So no question till now has posed a challenge for us. Okay. Now, next one. One minute. Okay. As a result of 25% hike in the price, as a result of 25% hike in the price of rice per kg, a person is able to purchase 6 kg less rice for rupees 1200. A person is able to purchase 6 kg less rice for 1200. What is the original price of the rice per kg? What is the original price of the rice per kg? What is the price of the rice per kg? Okay. 30 seconds more. Any options, any answers? People in the chat. Okay. For people who have watched yesterday's, can you identify which kind of problem this is? Can you identify which kind of problem this is? Don't you think this is a two-factor circular? Price has increased, you need to decrease consumption so that you will, price has increased, you have to decrease your consumption so that the expenditure remains the same. We have discussed this yesterday. Okay, now you will see. Okay. the normal way. Efficient way. Okay. So normal way is just by taking variables. Okay. If x is cost per unit, y is number of units, Okay. So if the price has increased by x units, increased by x units, so xy, the initial cost was 1200, xy, the initial cost was 1200, now x has increased by 25%, so increase by 25%, which is 1.25x, 1.25x has led to decrease in the consumption by 6 kgs, has led to decrease in the consumption by 6 kgs. You will get the same value. Two variables, you have two equations. Okay, if you solve this, okay, and substitute for x and y is equals to 1200, you can find, okay, either the value, but this is calculation intensive and not efficient way, not an efficient way. So what is a better way? What is a better way? Instead, okay, 1200, 1400, it doesn't matter if you take n by d, okay, if you take n by d rule. Two factor circular, the price, previously it was A, now it has increased to B, you see, increase of 25%, applying n by d rule, increase of 25% is plus of 1 by 4. How much has to consumption decrease? How much does the consumption have to decrease for the expenditure remain the same? Use n by d is minus 1, numerator will come as it is, 1 plus 4 is 5. Okay. So consumption has to decrease. Okay. If price increases by 25%, consumption has to decrease by 20%. That means if the previous consumption was 5 units, it has to decrease by 1 unit. That means it has to become 4 units now. So what is the difference? The difference is 1. But what is the difference given? The difference is 6 kgs of difference. Previously they used to consume, when the price was less, 6 kgs more. If the difference is 6, so 1 unit is 6, so 4 units will become 24 and 5 units will become 30 and 5 units will become 30. So this is the previous case, right? Okay. Your consumption is more when price is less. So when price is less, you are consuming 30 kgs. So 1200 in both cases and you used to consume 30. Answer is the price was previously. Have they asked the price, old price or the new price? What was the original price per kg? So the old price, so it is 40. You see how efficient this is and how efficient this is. Okay. So if you use, okay, all of the theoretical observations that we have discussed in the class and the yesterday's framework, you see there is not even a question, okay, that takes more than a minute. Okay. So is this clear? Okay. So next one. A shop owner offers the following discount options on an article to a customer. Successive discounts of 10%, 20%, and then pay a service tax of 10%. Then pay a service tax of 10%. Okay. successive discounts of 20% and 20% and 10%, then pay a service tax of 10%. Okay. For those people who do this by taking the values, I am sorry, you have not understood the theoretical concepts well. See how difficult this is. To solve one problem, you need to solve 4 calculations. You see, 90%. Okay, so if I want to do this the normal way without, okay, 10% and 20%. So 10%, suppose assume the value as 100. Most people, okay, many people, if they do not apply their brain, they would have done like this: 100, okay, 10% decrease, that means this becomes 90, and then 20% decrease, okay, 9, 18, so 72, okay. So successive discounts of okay, 22% and a tax of 10%. So 72 plus 7.2. Okay, this is what he was supposed to pay. If you calculate all this, okay, by taking this, what has he done? You see, the percentages has remained the same. You see what is happening? If you are able to see this to the lens of multiplication factor, your multiplication factor is multiplied by initial value. You see, either you multiply the factors a into b into c, or b into c into a, or c into a into b. Don't you think the result is always a, b, c? Don't you think the result is always a, b, c? If you understand this, all of this is going to lead to the same answer, which is all the options are same. Okay, do you really need to do? That is why UPSC has given you, whether you apply your the concepts you have learned or not, or you are going to blindly solve each option and find out the value and compare all the 3 values. Okay, you see how efficient this is and how this is. Okay, so this is hardly a question that it is an oral question. Okay, and for those who are still not clear about the framework, okay, kindly refer to yesterday's video. Okay. Next one. In an adult population of a city, 40% men and 30% women are married. So, what population in adult population of a city, 40% men and 30% women are married. What population is of married adults in the city if no man marries more than one woman and no woman marries more than a man? So, it is the condition is given that, okay, both men and women are monogamal, in a monogamal relationship. There are no widows and widowers. 1 minute. Okay, so we'll solve this, and the remaining questions we'll see in the next class. Or I think we have covered all the topics that we have seen. Okay, we have seen successive percentages. You could take the remaining as homework and apply, and if you have doubts you could get back to me. Okay, or we'll take a class separately for solving this. Okay. Now let us solve this. Okay, so the normal way would have been, assume one of the men. Okay, assume men. So if there were 100 men, if there were 100 men, okay, if there were 100 men, 40 men are married. If you have to marry 40 men, if you have to marry 40 men, what does it need? That means you need 40 women too. You need 40 women too. Okay, so 40 men married with 40 women, 40 men married with 40 women. That means how many women are actually there? 100 men, and we get married. Okay, married men. Okay, this 40 is 30%. This 40 is 30% of the total women. Okay, so 30% is 3 by 10. Okay, so if there are 10 people, 30% is 3 people. If 3 people are 40, what is 10? Okay, so you will find the number of women. So he is asking adults who are married. So you have men total, and you will get from this women total. Okay, and how many of them are married? Of married adults. Okay, married. What is the population of married adults in the city? So it is 40 men plus 40 women out of the total population. Okay, this is this. You will get the W here, this. Okay, but you are going to run into the problem here. Why? You see, because your 40 is not divisible by 3. 40 is not divisible by 3. That is why I tell you, whenever you want to assume a value that is divisible. You see how the problem is progressing. If, okay, for an efficient way, you will assume the initial value such that you see 40% of the men. Okay, so out of the total men, he is giving 40%. He is giving 40%. That means if, okay, if the total men is divisible by 4, it would be much more simpler. I will only get integers. Okay, or if the number of married men is divisible by 4, I will get only integers, because 40% is 4 by 10. Okay, 40% is nothing but 4 by 10. Okay, so total into x is equals to married men. So what will this become? Married men into 10 by 4. So your married men, if it is divisible by 4, calculations become easier. In the same way, x into 3 by 10 is married women. Sorry, married men. This is married women. And what will this become? Total women. It will become 10 by 3. So if your married woman is divisible by 3, it will be much more efficient. You know, married men and married women, the value is same, right? The value is same. So you should take a value for married couple which is a multiple of 4 and 3, I hope this observation is okay. You will always follow this observation. Now once you know this, you see how easy it becomes. Okay, let me just erase this. Okay, so I hope you have gotten this observation. Okay, you have. So I want something, the be a multiple of 4 into 3. What is the easiest one? 12. Okay. For any discrepancies, I am just adding a 10 here. Okay. So the number of married couples are 120. That means males, and there are 120 females. 120 is 40% of men. 40% of men. That means if there are 10 total men, 4 of them are married. So this 4 is equals to 120. So the number of men are, okay, 4 into 30, 10 into 30. So there are total 300 men. There are total 300 men. In the same way, okay, 30% is if there are 3 women. Okay, out of 10 women, 3 women are married. If they are out of 10 women, 3 women are married. So if this 3 is 120, if this 3 is 120, what is this 10? 3 into 40, 10 into 40, which is 400. So there are how many? In total there are 300 men and 400 women. The total population is 700. So the total population is 700, and the married couples are how many? What has they asked? What is the population is of married adults? Okay, married adults are 120 men and 120 women. So it is 240. Okay, 24 by 70. Okay, into 100. So this is some 3's. Okay, you see, you know it is 240 by 7, right? Or even from this you are able to guess that there is a 7 in the denominator. 7 is a prime number. 7 is a prime number. So, okay, so you can never, okay, instead of even solving this, okay, 7 is a prime number. That means, okay, you see, what were the options we got? We got 240 by 7. Okay, clean. It is 240 by 7. Okay, so it is definitely 240 is not cancelable by 7. So no integers. Okay, no integers. So definitely, what does 7 mean? If you know mixed fractions, we will discuss this, okay, in number systems. Okay, just like how we discussed every concept in percentages, in the same way we will discuss fractions and mixed fractions in the number systems class. I hope you will be around to watch that. Okay, so this means that there is a 7 in the denominator. 7 in the denominator. If you see, okay, this value will be 34. Okay, 34 2 by 7. 34 2 by 7. Okay, so you can eliminate these two easily. Why? Because 24 is divisible. Okay, so it comes 33 or 34, or even if you go for calculation. Okay, so these option, okay, the way to manipulate options is, if you are somehow stuck up and you find that time is getting less, okay, you can use these observations to, okay, just solve 5 or 10 questions in, okay, at a minute a pace, at a minute a pace. Okay, so we'll stop here since we have exceeded the time limit. Okay, the remaining one you could practice. Okay, I will provide you, if you required, okay, kindly comment if you required the options with in the most efficient way possible, because I hope you are able to get the answers these available on the internet. Okay, there are many coaching centers which provide you, but if you want the most efficient answers, either we'll take an extra class for this, or I will provide you a material so which details you how to think, okay, how to think and solve this in the most efficient way possible. So any doubts from today's class? So in these odd 25 odd questions, 20 or 24 odd questions, I think we have solved each and every concept. We have seen successive percentages, we have seen n by d rule, Okay, we have seen application, or we have seen percentages, how to see them as ratios, okay, and ratios as percentage. Okay. So I hope we have covered the whole gamut of the theoretical application here. So you could take the remaining questions as homework, and if you want an efficient solution, that can be easily provided. Okay, kindly contact the admin team if you need answers, or I myself will take an extra class okay, to solve the questions like this. I hope, are there any doubts today? Any problem where you think it is difficult, or if you find a much more efficient way, kindly shoot, kindly comment in the chat. Okay, since everyone is happy. Okay, so we'll end the class on this note. Okay, the next class, okay, based on we will either go for a new topic in quant, or we'll do some really efficient ways to solve. There are some really efficient ways to solve reasoning problems, or we'll come back with a topic in reasoning. Okay, kindly follow the Telegram channel, or okay, or kindly follow the Telegram channel or our admin team, okay, to find out the next class which is tomorrow, and probably we'll okay, tell me what do you like the most. I see reasoning, many people okay, will solve some really beautiful ways to solve syllogisms, okay, next class. Okay, that is my promise. So next class is going to be on syllogisms based on your request. Okay, one topic from reasoning. So we'll see the most efficient way to solve syllogisms. I hope many of you will be back to see this. So that's it for the night. Thank you.
अरे जो मैंने उसमें एंड स्क्रीन किया ना, तो उसमें आ रहा है कि योर स्क्रीन विल स्टॉप इमीडिएटली एंड यू विल नो लॉन्गर बी लाइव. एंड करो ना. अब आ रहा है एडिट इन